10 tribes were exterminated, 60 million by the Bolsheviks alone, okay? And I don't know how many millions of white Christians you want to add, to mainland Europe during World War I and World War II. You're talking upwards of 100 million people, but all we ever hear about is those 6 million of the non-Israelite population, okay? As if, though, the 100 million white Christians that suffered in World War I and World War II didn't even exist, That's because, yeah.
So every aspect of who they are and every aspect of the history is getting laws, it seems like, passed that says even if you question how many died, you'll go to jail.
Yeah, or
that doesn't sound like a freedom-loving group of people.
No, they're not. Right? They're not. Yeah, they're tyrants. They're the tyrants of their descendants of the Nephilim. Okay.
Wow.
Getting back into Genesis chapter 6, Genesis, I think it's 6:2 or 6:4 says that there were giants in those days, and also after that. And in the book of Josephus, he relates, also the book of Jasher tells us that some of these Nephilim escaped. And guess where they settled? They settled in Palestine. It was called Canaan land. Gath, the tribe of Gath, was a race of giants. Goliath was a descendant of the king of Gath had a 23-foot long bet. Okay. So these giants and various other hybrid species, because that's what these Nephilim did when they left their first estate, they started experimenting with hybridization. They created chimeras. All these legends of half goat, half man, half fish, half man. These were genetic experiments that these people were doing. And remember when the Israelites first came upon Palestine, or the land of Canaan as it was known at the time, they spied out the area and they said, we're like grasshoppers compared to these people. There were giants there. Okay? And then
this doesn't, just because they're bad guys doesn't make them stupid guys.
No, not necessarily. Although, normally giantism, so-called, tends to have an effect on the brain and does ultimately make them stupid, okay? And because they were stupid, they were eventually exterminated by the smaller tribes, by the normal-sized people, okay? And plus they required huge amounts of food, and they were consuming so much food that they were starving the rest of the people out, and so the normal-sized people ganged up against the giants, and those giants were eventually exterminated.
Would that be why we've got these silly little sayings today from Mother Goose type of poems that says...
Sure.
You know where I'm going, don't you?
Jack and the Beanstalk, yeah, right.
or fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman?
Right, yeah. Yeah, because my understanding is the Picts were one of these hybrid tribes, although they weren't giants, they were actually little people. That's where your term pixies comes from. They were little people that lived in caves. And some of these Canaanite tribes in Palestine lived in caves as well. Okay. So, and so these people got around as well. We weren't the only ones that got around. Okay. So, all these tribes of Canaan land were, in fact, descendants of the fallen angels, or products of hybridization between these fallen angels and other species that already existed on the planet. Okay?
Which meant that Adam was put in place, so to speak, amongst other
That's right.
Civilizations that were here, having already been exposed to what then became or was fallen angels.
Right. They were under
So could I assume then that the fallen angels became the nemesis, or the Adamic people became the nemesis of the guys that were here first?
Well, that's what Yahweh's intention was. Adam and Eve were intended to be physically immortal. Okay. Their bodies were intended to live forever. But because Eve was seduced by Nachash, and that word Nachash in the Hebrew means snake, serpent, seducer, hisser, because somebody who's hissing at you is not necessarily a snake, but someone who's talking behind your back or accusing you falsely is hissing. Okay. All this terminology relates to this Hebrew word nachash. It's also related to the Indo-Aryan Naga. Okay. The Naga people were the fallen angel people, the hybrid people that fell from heaven that first are talked about in Sumeria. Okay.
Okay.
So all of these ancient legends come together once you know who these fallen angel people are and who their current descendants are. Okay. And their descent is clearly traced in the Bible through Cain.
Oh, okay.
Cain is not listed as a son of Adam. Seth is the son of Adam, but Cain is not.
Now, a lot of people are going to go, look, you're just talking about white Anglo-Saxon superiority, and you're really referencing the Bible a lot. And I don't believe in the Bible, and I don't think it's accurate. Well, what's interesting is, then if it's not, why are we talking about Jews in the first place? Because that's where it is.
Well, I wish we were superior.
What I mean by that is having a moral base is higher, more noble. But what I'm trying to get at is the reason we're talking about this is because they claim that they can be found in the Bible, and that was their reason, they say, for being given certain lands and privileges, because they keep pointing to the Bible. So now what we've done here is taken that same Bible that they're pointing at, saying the reason why we need to have this land and the reason why we need to be recognized is because we're right here in this, particularly the Old Testament, right here in front of your eyes. Yeah. So what you've done is taken that same document and shown how it's not who they say they are.
That's right.
And you haven't just studied the Bible itself. I know you've
studied all the history surrounding these biblical claims and what the Bible's really saying.
You've probably didn't you have the Dead Sea Scrolls that you got to examine them? Didn't you?
Yes, and the Dead Sea Scrolls verify everything I'm saying. They're talking about the end times war between the children of the devil and the children of God. Okay, the Dead Sea Scrolls talk about this exact same thing. But here, let's verify. Now, this is not supremacism, because all I'm saying is that, if you have an electrical problem, what do? Do you hire a plumber? Or do you hire an electrician? Okay.
Well, it depends on whether you're calling or somebody,
what county or city or state you're in, right? Or whether it's a Mexican.
Yeah. You might get your teenager to call the wrong person,
Right. If some Mexican crosses the border and tries to hook up your lights and electrocutes himself, you just put him out the back door. I think it's time to call a real electrician. Okay. So Adam and Eve were created to rescue this planet from the dominion, the tyranny of the fallen angels.
Right. So that's what made us the nemesis of these guys that were trying to keep control over the existing civilizations that were already here.
That's right. Yeah.
And our job was to come here and help.
Right. Now let's save the supremacism versus servant people argument for next time. Let's cover more marks of Israel to prove the point. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
We've only covered one mark of Israel in detail so far. The second mark, and that was the throne of David, would be perpetuated forever, and it has from Adam through Queen Elizabeth II. Okay.
And I'm going to make a prediction right here.
Okay.
And I'm not near as versed on this. I do not think that Prince Charles will be crowned, although Elizabeth II, I believe, is rightful heir, and is not half-breed person. I don't think she'll die before she gives it over to the rightful heir, and I don't know who that'll be. Or it might just not happen until somebody else completely comes back and takes over. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
but I don't think Charles is going to get it. So that's
I tend to agree with you. Question, Segue 44. If Charles is a half-breed, who is his father? His father was a Mountbatten, okay? And the Mountbattens have Jewish heritage, okay? There are other monarchs in Europe who are still purebred whites. So if there is no purebred white on a throne somewhere, then someone else will take her place. Okay? As I understand, the Swedes still have a king and queen, and maybe other countries.
We have Prince Albany, of Scotland.
Alban means white.
Hey, yeah,
Okay.
Prince